'Twas the night before Christmas, when all across the shelf Irish whiskies were competing for space with an elf. The two glasses were placed on the table with care, in the hopes that St. Nicholas would soon find them there. The single pot stills and malts were ready and waiting. Which ones would the big man soon be tasting? Mrs. Stories and Sips and I were relaxing, reminiscing about a year all too taxing. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my seat to see what was the matter. Past the whiskies to the window I flew like a flash, pulled back the curtains, tied them back with a sash. The moon lit up the fresh fallen snow, and the shelves lined with Irish whiskies below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but the big man and his army of reindeer. As he turned to the house, his lips he did lick, for he knew in this house any whiskey he could pick. In the blink of an eye he appeared on the roof, transported up high with the click of a hoof. A rumbling was heard as he jumped down the chimney, and two boots appeared in the room lit so dimly. With a squeeze and a push he leapt over the fire, and found his firm footing to distant sounds of the choir. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys was flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. I hid well out of sight as he surveyed all, and watched as his eyes met the bottles on the wall. His sack of presents quickly dropped to the floor, as the big jolly man saw the chance for much more. The bottles, they glistened in the Christmas tree light, reflecting the amber, gold and delight. But which would be best to quench his big thirst? And how could he choose which one to try first? From dingle to redbreast to red spot and blue, he knew that he'd have to try more than a few. Maybe a light bua or a heavy pot still, or perhaps a small Powers for his coffee to fill. But then the Tyrconnells and Middletons did show, making him question going back out in that snow. He needed to balance the work yet ahead, with an Irish whiskey or two that wouldn't put him to bed. So he took them all in with a big massive grin, and grabbed a two glass ready to fill. Perhaps a new Bushmills or Killowen, he pondered, but he was worried a Tullamore or Dark Silky would be squandered. West Cork beckoned, as did those from Waterford and Clonakilty, when his face lit up with a smile so big he felt guilty. For staring at him was a bottle from Clare, and he knew he had found his fine Christmas fare. With deftness of movement and in a moment of glory, he took from the shelf a bottle of the story. With a pop of the cork and a generous pour, he wondered if he perhaps should leave room for more. Yet the tropical fruits of this blended libation crossed his lips like a whiskey flirtation. He plopped down the glass and then loudly declared, "From now on it's Irish and none shall be spared. Swap the milk for whiskey that's Irish, it's the best and it shows." And giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprung to his sleigh, to his team he gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Irish whiskey for all, and to all a good night. Merry Christmas."